Hello and welcome everybody. This is the sculpting course by in Blender. In this tutorial, I'm just going to show you the second workflow technique, which is the multi-resolution workflow, which I'll be dividing it in three parts, which are very short, easy to follow. But so the multi-resolution modifier. So now I have done this juice box model and I have showed how to rig it in my tutorial of last week. You could just go check it out on my channel. And if we want to go to the multi-resolution, when you first add it, you'll be greeted with this kind of things, which is, don't worry about this one, it's just for the rig, the armature. Uh, Now we want to focus on the multi-resolution. So the leveless club viewport render, these are the things that you have in Blender, where most of this have, it's very similar with the subdivision surface, but now the thing is, in this model, if we go ahead and enable the wireframe, which should work, I guess. So now we have this geometry. So if I subdivide this, now if I want to go up with the level of scope, we cannot go because we have to subdivide our mesh. So now I have subdivided it one time. So give me this kind of geometry. So now if I go ahead to sculpt mode and want to add, and for the grace of the multi-resolution modifier, I want to add an M around here, which I have enabled the screencast tool is not working for some reason. Okay, now it's working. So if you want to pop up this part and or to toggle it on and off, so I want to add an M, but still the geometry isn't enough to add an M, so I'm going to subdivide it again even higher this time. So now if I enable the wireframe, now we have this much geometry. The more you subdivide it, the more it gets. So don't worry about this, this is because we have the viewport display. You can add the viewport display. The viewport display is how much of this details are we going to show in the viewport. So now if I add an M, it should be great to add an M. I'm just going to be adding M real quick. So I'm just going to be disabling this. Now we have this. I just enabled the mirror modifier. Don't worry about this. I'll be addressing all the things that you need to know about here and all brushes in the later course. So now if I add this, we should be able to add this. So now I will add some little details around here, add here something here, just random sculpts around here. Add make the juice box like this. So now what we see is we have deformed the geometry a lot. So if I go to the layout mode, I'll see we have this. So now if I go ahead and want to have a crappy computer, and not crappy, it's the level of details is too high for our geometry, so we could just go ahead and add the viewport even bigger to see every detail we have. So now I could go back with my level of sculpt and go ahead the viewport. See, now we are just maintaining the geometry. We haven't done any kind of crazy geometry. We could delete this anytime you want. You could just go with the level up sculpt, just put this right here and just play with the viewport. If I go to mode, everything will be maintained. So on the render is when we render how much details we want to be seeing. So if you have subdivided your geometry crazy high, you could just go back like this. Let's go back to the sculpt mode and G for grab brush. I'll be addressing that one in the later videos. Just I'll be moving it like this, and I have subdivided my mesh 4 times. I want to go up, so I just can go level of sculpt 4, make this 4, and delete higher. To delete the higher, so now I cannot go up. And apply this as a base mesh is to apply the geometry as base mesh, reshape, and you can just play with the settings. So this is the first technique. The second workflow, the multi-resolution workflow. So the downside about this is if I add this to my geometry, Now it will look weird, very weird. If we could just go ahead, smooth this, but this is not efficient. So what you want to do is, if you have this at the multi-resolution modifier, back, subdivide it more, and play with this. You can always do this, but I recommend, thinking about what you are going to do before you add this multi-resolution modifier, and think that your base shape is very cool for your subdivision modifier. Now the thing is, with the subdivision modifier, if I go back where I have done this, I have rigged this character. So if I go to the pose mode, I can always use this. Now you look at it, it may get a little bit glitchy, and I could just go ahead and pose my mesh. This is why this is used in production a lot, because they can maintain the level of detail at any time. So if I go back to here and decrease the viewport, now I have my base mesh nice and clean. I could just delete it, apply it, and stay tuned for the second part of this multi-resolution modifier course. Not the sculpting course, which is the second workflow multi-resolution, but I have 2 or 3 parts. I would say about that one. Stay tuned for the next one.